Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Make America Civil Again. Before we begin, I always say like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every Wednesday morning that your favorite YouTube interviewer has posted a new video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment, namely gun laws and gun rights. So please stay tuned. All right, so I'm here with my buddy Nick. Nick, how you doing?
What's up? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We've been good friends for a while now, but why don't you go ahead and tell everybody else a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Nick Shine. I am from Carson City, Nevada. I grew up there for almost 20 years and then went to the University of Nevada and played football. It's where I met my wife, Sarah. And we now have 3 beautiful kids. I've been with the fire department for almost 10 years now. And, I've been a gun owner for most of my life. I've been around guns for, since I was real small. I remember a lot of times Dad taking me out shooting to the range until I was about 12 years old when I got my first hunter safety class. And then just shortly after that, started getting out in the woods and hunting, and so that's a little bit about me. I still continue to go out to the range. I go out and shoot, and I enjoy shooting with friends and sighting in my rifle prior to going out deer hunting and stuff. And I still deer hunt, so I'm looking forward to the deer season this year. Going back to Pennsylvania, so that's what I've been doing. That's kind of a little bit about my background involving guns and things of that nature. So,
okay, you've owned a gun for pretty much all your life, and you never shot anyone.
Never had to use my weapon to defend myself, and I think that's the point. Honestly, is I think people, and I think the majority of people you would ask or talk to, they carry a gun just for that peace of mind, and 60% of people own a firearm for protection. Okay. Then it drops down to I think 20 or 30% for hunting, and then 20 or 30% for target shooting. One thing that I thought was interesting that they didn't ask in this FBI study, when they're gathering their information, is do you own a weapon for protection against a tyrannical government, which I think is what the initial reason why the Second Amendment was put into the Constitution. Yeah, if you ask people that carry firearms, I think their intent is to hopefully never have to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't feel that people, at least in the United States, have a real fear of their government. Yeah. I think we got to be careful because, you look at things that are happening around the world and things that have happened in the past. If you're not careful and you're not paying attention, which I think we sometimes get a little bit comfortable here in America. You got to pay attention to what's going on, because at some point, if your heads are in the clouds, you're not paying attention, things start going a certain way, and things could change in a hurry.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Why are you a huge proponent of the Second Amendment?
We talked about some of the statistics. I fall right in line with some of those things for protection, for hunting. I think it's important because, with my career as a firefighter, I, have the unfortunate responsibility of going out there and seeing what some of these people that have been shot look like, and and it's not a pleasant thing, but I have that reality that's in my world, knowing that, hey, this is a dangerous place. You know what I'm saying? And there's dangerous people out there that they're looking to inflict harm on you. And so I think the Second Amendment is important because it levels the playing field. You have the right as a person to live. And if somebody wants to try to end that, you should be able to protect yourself. Yeah. Obviously hunting, I really enjoy hunting. Being outdoors, I'm a big outdoors guy. I think that a lot of times we get so wrapped up in, Facebook and Instagram, and when you get out into the woods or you're in the mountains, it just, it's not something we get to do as much as we should. There's a great challenge out there, and I think if people just knew about it a little more, about what hunting as a sport offers, it's so enjoyable.
So like places like Canada and other parts of the world, they have guns, but they're strictly used for hunting. right? You can't use guns for personal use, like for protection and things like that. Like you have to strictly use it just for hunting.
Yeah, they don't have like concealed carry laws.
Yes.
And things like that.
Since you're a hunter yourself, why would you say that guns shouldn't be limited to hunting? Like, why should we be able to carry them?
We had, we talked a little bit about leveling the playing field. The other aspect of that we kind of haven't touched on is, if there's a situation where somebody, say all guns are outlawed and you're not allowed to have rifles or pistols or shotguns, and somebody comes at you with a bat or a hammer or a knife, and your only protection is to either get a hammer, a bat, or a knife. Well, now I got to go search out one of those things while somebody's trying to threaten my life, right? The other option, hey, call 911, call the police. I work in the fire service. We work hand in hand with police officers. It can take an extended amount of time based on some circumstances to get a police officer to show up. Mm-hmm. It could take 3 minutes. It could take 6 minutes. How much damage can be done in 3 minutes? I think at the core of the discussion is you're never going to be able to regulate instruments out of situations where people are going to be injured or hurt, killed. Yeah. So it's the only thing that levels the playing field, like we were talking about, is a firearm. It's really the only thing that can level the playing field.
Like, what would you say like common sense gun laws are? Like, should we have common sense gun laws? Like talk on that a little.
So we do have common sense gun laws, right? Owning automatic weapons is already outlawed. Like you can't own an automatic weapon unless there is a process into which you can get one, but it's very lengthy. You have to go through the ATF. You have to get stamps. You go onto a list. I mean, there's a crazy amount of things that you have to do to get some of those. You can't own a sawed-off shotgun, because the spread pattern is a lot more dangerous. So those things we already have there's a ton of gun laws that we already have on the books. Background checks, common sense, background checks. Right now in Nevada, they're talking about a bill in Carson City about private sale background checks, which I think, is probably a good idea. Yeah. So, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, I want to buy this pistol from you. You should have to go get a background check before you sell the pistol to somebody that you don't know. Yeah. Right. If it's a family member, I think it kind of gets into the weeds, like, oh, my father passed away, and now, it's the guns are, going to be given to the kids. There should be something there too, but I don't know what the end result of that would be, because when you're looking at crimes that are committed, the person that's committing the crime, most of the time, gets the gun illegally somewhere. They got it, they stole it from somebody. A lot of times it's not people that are going into gun stores, buying guns, and then going out and committing mass murders. But then there's so many laws that we have that aren't being enforced. And so what is it going to do to create more laws when we can't even enforce the laws that we have now? Do you know what I'm saying? If you go in and apply or submit a background check, the government has 3 days to either accept or deny the background. If it's not, then by law, that person gets that firearm. Usually, when you go into a gun store and buy a gun, they either approve it or deny it right away. Like it's pretty quick. You may have to wait 15, 20 minutes, but it's usually pretty quick. And then you walk out that day with the firearm. If it takes longer than 3 days, the gun store is legally has to give you that firearm. Now, if it later is determined that there's a denial in that process, that you weren't legally allowed to own that firearm, whether because you had a criminal history or you have domestic in your background or something, you've been arrested for domestic violence, something like that, then there's a denial. Well, that background check gets turned over to the ATF, and then they're supposed to go out and retrieve that firearm because you're not legally allowed to own it. But in the 3,000 cases of people being denied on a background check that got post-purchase that were denied, only out of 3,000 people that got denied, only less than a third were ever recovered by the ATF. So we don't even have enough people to go out and do the job of retrieving the firearms that people purchased illegally. So, I mean, what is it going to do to create more laws? We have common sense laws on the books. There are some common sense things that we could do. Bump stocks. I'm not a huge fan. Basically, it makes the weapon fire more rapidly. You're pulling the trigger each time, but it's kind of a aftermarket piece that goes on the stock of the rifle that makes it fire more rapidly. So, if they want to take those away, is that common sense? Yeah. The guy in the Mandalay Bay used bump stocks on his rifles to fire many rounds and created a lot of havoc and a lot of devastation. And so, that could be common sense gun laws. I think a lot of people could get behind that. But where else is it going to go? There's another bill in Carson City talking about competition triggers and how they want to outlaw aftermarket triggers because it changes the feel of the trigger, or it changes how many pounds of pressure it takes to pull the trigger. So really, is that stopping or preventing any crime? So I think some of those are not common sense.
Yeah.
So, and by and large, people that are bound and determined to get these things and create havoc and destruction are gonna do it.
Yeah.
If there's a lot, like murdering is illegal, people still get murdered.
Yeah.
Doing cocaine's illegal, but there's plenty of people that do cocaine. So, I mean, yes, I'm not saying we shouldn't have the laws or it's nonsense to have the laws. We should have laws, but if somebody's bound and determined to do it, they're gonna figure out how to do it and how to get around it. And you're not gonna. There's a lot of things you can do to stop it, but you're not gonna stop it all.
Yeah.
We live in a world that is very broken, and it's just the world that we live in.
So it's a little over a year ago that there was a school shooting that happened down in Florida. And I think that's when this whole gun law debate really started happening about common sense gun laws. And what I just heard from you was that we already have a lot of common sense gun laws that we're not implementing, right? So as a person who believes in the Second Amendment and who has children that go to public school, what would you say to someone who wants to remove or wants to implement gun control because of the mass shootings that are happening in schools?
The only thing that stops a madman with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
And so, you look at where these shootings are happening or mass shootings are happening, a lot of times it's in gun-free zones and where there's not another good guy with a gun. And so, the studies have shown when, the school shooter goes in and starts shooting the school up, as soon as the law enforcement approaches or, they feel like the walls are closing in, the act is usually that the shooter takes his own life or surrenders. When you talk about common sense, we have police officers at banks standing out front with pistols on their sides. There's a statistic that I read about. They did a study on felons that were in 41 states. They were asked, hey, were you deterred if you thought or you knew that whoever you're going to commit a crime against had a gun? Were you less likely or more likely to commit that crime? And over 40% said that they would not have committed a crime if they knew or thought that the individual that they were going to commit a crime against was armed. And so it's like, well, that's common sense. It's not a for sure. Just because you put a good guy with a gun there doesn't mean that shooter's not going to shoot him first and then move on. But, the common sense there is we protect everything with guns. We protect our politicians, our banks. Why aren't we protecting the children? Why are children not being protected? And there are school cops and stuff, but not as many. Like there's maybe one school cop for every 5 schools. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what the statistics are, but why isn't there a posted up security officer, police officer at every school?
Yeah.
Armed. I just don't get it.
Because we don't see a lot of mass shootings happening in other countries, right? I mean, the New Zealand thing just happened not too long ago, but outside of that, a lot of the mass shootings are happening here in the United States, at least those that we know of, not compared to other like well-developed countries like Europe or even Canada, or even in Australia. So, do you think do you think there's any benefit to having gun control because of that fact?
I don't, because I think if you look, you could take the instrument away. You could take the instrument away. Criminals are still going to have ways of obtaining them. So you're basically taking the right of an individual to protect themselves away. And then if you take the guns away, look at the statistics of the Australias, the Canadas. You look at the knife attacks. Even in the United States where we have guns, there's 5 times as many people that are killed with knives than guns. Why aren't we having knife control? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, what are we really talking about here? You talk about other places. That doesn't mean just because they took guns away, they don't kill people over there. Yeah. People are getting killed with machetes running around in the streets in London. You look at things like that. I mean, is it going to maybe reduce the amount of people they can kill? Maybe. But you look at, they just had the guy in the semi-truck about a year or two ago drive through a huge crowd of people, killed dozens and dozens of people in France and other places. And so it's like, you can't regulate the tools enough. You can't, a pistol's a tool, a rifle's a tool, a knife is a tool. You're not going to be able to regulate it enough to where nobody's going to get murdered. Like, people that are hell-bent on murdering other people are going to figure out a way to do it. Yeah, with a bomb, with a truck, with something. You know what I mean? So why are we restricting the good people from protecting themselves?
Yeah. Let's say you were sitting down and you're talking with someone who believes in gun control at many different levels, right? Because I think there's some people that believe that there needs to be more gun laws. Some people even as far as like we just need to remove guns completely. And let's go to the far extreme. Let's say you're talking to someone who believes that guns just need to be removed completely. What would you say to someone who thinks like that?
Well, I feel like the gun community and gun owners, they get turned off a lot to being open to having discussions with people that are anti-gun or pro-gun laws. I think they get turned off when they hear people talking about guns when they don't have a real clue about what they're talking about. They'll talk about fully semi-automatic weapons, and we all know that that's not a real thing. That's words to make it sound more dangerous. Rifles and stuff that I own, they look scary to some people, but those rifles my deer rifle shoots a bigger bullet with more powder than my AR shoots. It's a step up from a 22, as far as the bullet size and the powder and stuff that's in it. So you talk about, you hear these people that are talking about gun laws or gun control and talking about, they got 30 round clips. Well, there's not any guns that have ever had 30 round clips. There was a one rifle many years ago that had a clip in it. But so just like the terminology, you can tell when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to guns. And so gun owners get turned off pretty quickly about having a discussion when that person hasn't taken the time to figure out what a gun is, how it operates, how it works, go through some hunter safety, go through some gun safety classes, some firearm training courses, figure out what it is and get some experience with it before you start hating on it. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't take the time to figure out what it is, and then it's like, how do I have a discussion with somebody that has no idea or has never shot a firearm?
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I have a discussion about, can we regulate ammunition, or should we regulate the amount of bullets that go into a magazine? If I can't talk to you one-on-one and you have a working knowledge of what a firearm is, how it operates, what it does, then how are we gonna, then it's kind of like a conversation stopper. You know what I'm saying? So I think if those people would take some time to figure it out and maybe get some experience with those weapons, understand that it's just a tool, and that firearm safety is a big part of gun ownership, then I think that might at least get us to a point where we can start having some real conversations about
Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
Cool, brother.
I really appreciate it.
It was good, dude. It was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be a part of it. So
yeah, definitely. And we'll get you on here maybe another time. We could talk about why you're such a huge Trump supporter.
I'm up for it, man.
All right. And I just triggered some people. Pun intended, because we're talking about guns.
I like it.
Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have something you would like to say, leave a comment at the bottom, and I'll be sure to let him know you don't like him at all or you loved him. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. But if you want to appear here on Make America Civil Again, just let me know in the comments, or you can email me at civilizeamerica@gmail.com. But until next time, I'm out.